Hello everybody, I hope you're having a great day. Today's the day that we're going to bind our book. I'm going to show you how to put it all together. Grab your book and we're going to go ahead and go through the pages to make sure that we have them in the right order. First page you have, or first part you have, is the cover. We're going to be decorating that later. The next page that you have is the green painter's paper page. The page after that is the paper bag page. Then we have the vellum page. This one I did the little curvy, wavy edges. You don't have to, it can be straight. Next page is a coffee dyed page. Then another vellum page. This one I kept straight. Then we have another coffee dyed page. And then we get to our middle. Now on this page I do want to point out, if you want this to be wavy, you can go ahead and do that at this point. Also, like let's say you're a little OCD and you'd really rather the water levels be the same, you can go ahead and just clip that off to be at a height you want. The only adjustment that you make is when we add the fish in, you'll just change your fish positioning a little bit, or maybe add 2 fish instead of 3 fish. So go ahead and make sure you have everything in the right order, and then we're going to go ahead and use our pokey tools and make holes to put our thread through. Okay, once you have all the pages in the position that you know that you want them, you want to make sure they're nice and tight and positioned in a way that you desire them to be. So these are nice and tight. I have them all put together and I have them pushed down into the spine of the book. What you want to be aware of is if you have any half pages, like the second page here, our paper bag page, I want that pushed up more towards the middle. So I'm going to kind of push that around, and then I'm going to turn the pages. The other page that I want to be aware of is this little piece right here. We're going to have a hole that's going to be going right about there, so it's going to secure it. So just make sure that's at the bottom of the page. I have paper clips on both sides to kind of hold it secure. And then this middle page, it's a little bit different size than the rest of it, so just kind of push it around until it's in the position that you want. So I'm going to pick this up and just make sure all my edges are nice. And then I'm going to place it in the spine and then make sure the distance that's available from the top and from the bottom, the 2 little spaces, you can see the spine right there, or the cover, that it's kind of similar. So I'm going to push it just slightly, then grab a couple of clips. You can grab something like these clips or whatever. You can grab clothespins, just something that's going to hold your paper secure and tight. At this point, what's nice to do is to grab a book, something that has the valley in there, and so you can place your book right in there. If you have a book, when you take and start poking your spine, the little holes that you're going to be threading through, you'll be more apt to get it right in the middle instead of maybe off punch it and it'll be on one of the sides of the pages. That can still happen, but this kind of makes it more so it's less likely to happen. Okay, so I'm once again just making sure my book is how I want it, putting it down. I'm going to eyeball it, but you can go ahead and measure the pages and then find the exact spot if you really want it to be at the exact spot. I'm going to go here, and this looks like it's the middle to me, so I'm going to kind of pull my book together a little bit and start pushing the hole down. This is a little pokey tool. Let me show you. Okay. So that's, let me see how you can compare the size. It's not very thick, so this is a pencil. Let's see. So it's not a big fat hole that you're putting in it. It's just a little bit larger than the size of your needle. So I've got a hole. It went through. It went through my book. And now I'm going to do the top and the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to take my pokey tool and I'm going to go up about what I think is about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and I'm going to press down firmly. So once again, I get it pushed through. All you're doing is making a sufficient hole so that you can put your needle through it. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to find a distance that I want from the end, anywhere around in the 1 inch area, and then push through. Let me see what I actually... So this one I did at 3/4 of an inch. Okay, once I have those through, I can take another clip if I want and just kind of secure the other pages as I start sewing. So I'm going to sew this one together using the fishing line. This is a 50-pound fishing line. Okay, it's pretty thick. So when you make a book, what you want to do is kind of measure 3 times the height of your book. That's usually about the size of the length of the thread that you need. If you want to add just a little bit extra to be sure, go ahead. No big deal. So to do, you're going to be using the same method whether you're using the fishing line or you're using one of these others. I'm going to go ahead and use the fishing line, and I'll tell you a little bit more of these others. If you want to use one of these others, you'll just be using a needle. This fishing line is so firm that I don't need a needle on it. Okay, so I do have a paper I'm going to give you. I'll have it available on my Facebook page that I have these directions written down, and I have a few visuals to try to help. Basically, you want to go in the middle, then you want to go in the 2 outside holes, and then you want to come back through the middle. So if you remember, middle, outside, outside, middle. So we're going to start in the middle, and we're going to push our needle through. And this one just went through, boom, fast. Sometimes you have to really work it, where it's like get stuck on one of the pages or something, and so you have to kind of flip open the pages and find it and just kind of help it along. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to take, this is my tail. This is my tail. Can you see that? That's the leftover of what I just put through the spine. I want to keep a tail length because at the very end I'm going to use that to tie things up. So what I want to do, I'm going to put a clip over here to hold that tail, because sometimes what happens, it gets pulled all the way through and then you have to start over again, and that's not fun. You can also maybe try a piece of tape or something, a washi tape, something that's mild to hold it in place. So I went in the inside. Now I want to go through the 2 outer side holes, so middle and then the outer holes. So I can pick a hole, either one is going to accomplish the same thing. I'm going to do this one right here. I'm going to push it through, hoping that it goes all the way through, but if it doesn't, I'm going to have to go page by page and find out where it's stuck. So this has gone part of the way through, I can feel it, but I'm going to have to undo my clip to find out where it's being stuck and help it along. So it went through the vellum, I can see it here, I can see it here. Oh, there it goes, it went through. So I'm going to pull it tight so I have that first length. It's right there. So I went middle, outside, and now I need to go through the other outside. So I'm going to put this all the way across the page, and I'm going to put it in the other outside hole. So once again, I'm hoping that once I put it in, it's just going to push right through all the layers. This is where these clips really come in handy. If you have your page held nice and tight, you're more likely to be able to get it through. Okay, I seem to be having a little difficulty. I'm going to pin that side back up, and I'm going to open up one of these and give it a try. Sometimes your little pokey tool maybe is not poking through as clearly, or who knows what the problem is. You got to just kind of go with the flow. So I got through that page. I got through that page. I'm pushing through the next vellum page. So I'm going to go ahead and just tighten this line. So I'm going to find my hole, and I'm going to push through. I'm going to take it from the other side of this page and try the next page. Just keep on pushing it through, hoping that it'll go through more pages than just one. Okay. This time it did, so it went through the rest of the pages. So now I'm going to pull it all the way tight. This is still being held on. My tail is still being held on. So with the fishing line, you do have to give it a little bit more because it doesn't naturally tighten up. Okay, so now I have it all that. I did the middle hole, I did an outside hole, and then I did an outside hole. At the very end, we go back through the middle. So I'm going to try to push it in, see if I can get lucky and get it all the way through. If not, you know what we're going to do. Okay, I'm not finding it through straight ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that side. And I think open up this side. So I do have it held together with some thread at this point. So I'm going to grab a couple of these and see. There, I can feel I got it through there. So now I'm going to look for this page and try to get it through. It is a little easier with the needle. With the fishing line, it has a little more wiggle to it. I'm going to take my awl actually and just kind of give it a little more poke and make sure I have a clear line. So I have my clear line, so I'm going to try taking my wire again, fishing line, and pushing it on through. There's 1, 2. My paper bag seems to be where it's stalling. Okay, I made it through the paper bag. Got it through the vellum. Got it through that page, that page, and now that page. Okay, I made it through both pages, all the pages. So when you bring it through at the very end, the last part, you want one coming on one side and the other on the other side. So we have that wire down the middle, right there. See, that's down the middle of the book. I don't know if it'll show up that way. So we have this line coming down the middle of the book, and you want your fishing line, one coming on each side, so that when we tie it, it can tie right around. You want to pull it kind of tight and then tie a knot. And I actually tied 2 knots on this. And I don't know a lot about the fishing wire, how well it holds up on it, so I also put a dot of glue on it. I used my hot glue. You don't want it too hot because you don't want it to melt the plastic of your line, but you want it hot enough that it'll, or a good glue that will hold it. So I want to clip it off to the length that I like it. I'm going to do the same method, but I'm going to be doing it just on a piece of paper, something that you can see more clearly. This is just black paper, but this is what I'm going to use so that you'll be able to see the white thread. You'll be able to see what I'm doing a lot more easily. So let's say you're not going to use the fishing line, but you want to use something a little bit more traditional. I want to show you some varieties of things that you can use. This is what I first use. It's just like a crochet type thread. This is a vintage one. It's nice and thick. It's not just a piece of thread, so it has some body to hold it together with. The problem is that it gets wear and tear on it, and it can become thin over time, and then your book would fall apart. So you want to be aware of that. What a lot of people do is use a wax thread. So this is a wax thread. I think I maybe got this either at Joann Fabrics or at Walmart. I don't remember which one. What's nice about this when you feel it, it has the waxiness to it, but you still feel a grittiness to it. So it still has some tooth. So when you tie it up, it's going to tie up nicely. This is another type of wax thread that you can get. I mean, this is a really large spool. This is something I think they would use more for leather making. It's really slick. And so what I have found that when I use this one to bind my books, if I were to do that, what I have found was it's so slick that my books would become loose over time because it doesn't have a grip to hold the knot together very well. And so my book would begin loosening up. So be cautious of if you see a big sale like this going on. What I really like using, this is what I got from Nick the Booksmith. She uses upholstery thread, and I really have liked that. It's a nice strong thread, as you can imagine. You know, they're using it for upholstery. It's good. I have it in 2 different colors, so you can pick a color that works for your book. These are some needles that I use. They're just tapestry needles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and thread, let's see, I'm going to thread this one because this one will be easier for you to see. It's a little thicker. Okay, so once again, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go 3 lengths. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do just a little bit extra because I'm nervous, let's say, and I want to make sure I have enough. That's fine. It's not much to it. One of the hard things about this is threading your needle. Sometimes getting that big thread through your needle, part of it will go through, but not all of it. Sometimes what I do, I get a little piece of glue. You can use moisture, or I get a little piece of glue, I put it on, let it dry, and then I try putting it through again. Okay, now that I have my thread ready, I want to grab my book once again because I'm going to be poking into it. Take my papers, make sure everything's nice and tight, make sure it's all nicely placed. Fold it nicely, make sure it's all secure. Put your clips on it to hold it tight. Place it in your book or some kind of a cradle so that you have that V shape, so it presses down, because you're more apt to get in the center spine rather than getting into a part of the page. Grab your pokey tool, your awl, locate the center of your page, and press. Make your first hole. About 1 inch up, 3/4 of an inch, you know, just depending on the size of the book page you're doing, and push that on the top as well as on the bottom. And so now we have the holes in our page. For the stitching, you can either start on the inside or you can start on the outside. We're going to be starting in the inside, which will leave the tails left in the inside of the pages. We're going to go in the middle, then to both outside, and then back in through the middle. Okay, here we go. Middle, and I'm going to leave a tail. I want my tail there because I'm going to be tying it up afterwards. You can use a clip on your tail to hold it in place, or you can just hold it with your thumb. I've gone in the inside, now I want to go in the outside. Doesn't matter if it's the top or bottom first, you just want to go in one of the outside holes. Put it in the hole, go through all layers, pull it up. Okay, I've gone through the outside hole, now I need to go through the other outside hole. I'm going to reach all the way across, and I went through the outside hole. Now I need to go through an inside hole, the middle hole again. I'm going to push this. Working with thread, the thing that you have to watch for is sometimes you actually go through the thread part, and you don't want to do that. So you got to play around with it. I'm going to push it all the way through. My needle, so I've got the thread coming out on this side. I want this needle to come out on the opposite side, so my thread will be on the opposite side of this long string, this long strand. So I pull it up on the opposite side. Let's say I pull it up, it's on this side. It's no big deal, just move the thread underneath your strand and then you'll have it on the opposite side. So see, I've got plenty of leftover. I had that extra that I put there. You don't have to put extra, but I know when I first started doing it, I liked having extra. So make sure it's nice and tight. Take a look at it. And then go ahead and take that middle piece. I try to put a finger down or something in the middle a little bit. You don't have to. Lighten up, huh? So make it nice and tight. And then go ahead and make that knot. I like doing 2 knots. And there you go. If you're uncomfortable, you can still put a little dot of glue. With this one, you can just use a wet glue on it, and that should be sufficient. Once you get to this point, you can go ahead and cut off your strand. What some people do, which I think is quite fun, is put something on the end of your little strand. Here's a little flower I just happen to have nearby. So you can put that on the end of your strand. You can put a little heart on the end of your strand. You can put anything on the end of your strand, and it adds a little bit of decoration. So there you go.